Welcome back to the SimGeeks podcast. We are your hosts, William Belk and David Shablak. We are joined here with Matt Merino, CEO of EMS, which I have to say is probably one of the most talked about vendors here at IMSH2023. Just because you can't enter the exhibit hall without passing your booth, and there are people shooting at each other and things exploding and there's blood everywhere. So Matt, why don't you tell us kind of who you are, where you came from, how'd you get involved with EMS, and then we're definitely gonna talk about that setup you have over there.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. This being my first IMSH, as I've been at EMS now for 9 months. So I figured if we were going to show up, we might as well. I wanted to come in the right way and to begin. So
I think you did that, because I will say, we are hearing things and people are like, what is that? It's EMS, go look.
It's worth seeing. It's worth seeing. So I have been in the healthcare education space for an extended period of time, but it was on a very different but related path. So I was with Orbis Education prior to this.
I may have heard of that company.
Maybe. Running almost everything related to the operations, and I was there when it was very small Orbis till it became very big Orbis. So I had the pleasure of picking for our university partners where we were going to put those simulation centers, helping design them. And it was an interesting time, because as we continued to produce more and more nurses and therapists, the need still kept growing and growing and growing. And it struck me when this opportunity came, as I'm really someone who's passionate about solving the big problems, right? That's what we're out to do, is that technology is going to have to be what solves it in the healthcare space. It's not going to be solved by human capital as much as we want it to be. It doesn't align that way. Prior to that, before I joined the private sector, I was in the Army Special Operations community for years. So my first exposure to simulation was in a very different environment. But I can tell you the impact stuck with me, because it's so much of what's driving our thoughts of what we're doing now is this idea of immersive experience. Because when the closest we can get it to what it will be like, what's it sound like, which everyone's hearing, what's it smell like, what's it feel like, those are the types of things we're after, so that when the real events happen, people are as prepared as they can be to perform.
And it's funny, you mentioned the special ops, and it clicked, because I was in that community, not working, but I was around it. I've always been around it. So I taught at SAMHSA for many years, and I have a lot of friends that are in that community. So that makes so much sense. Good, I like that. Those are good people.
Well, Matt, you guys are the presidential sponsor here this year. I mean, you get the big booth right at the entryway. Everybody's seeing it. You were on stage yesterday for the plenary, kind of doing the introductions to the conference and opening up for us. Why is that important to you? Why is this the event that you, as CEO of EMS, chose to invest all of that time and effort into?
And it's not their first year. So this is a repeated, they can recognize it's important and coming back.
We have known as an organization just how important it is. And I'll get into that in a minute. And our commitment to it continues to grow, which I think we're showing this year, is that we're going to keep doing more, showing more, demonstrating more. Here's why I believe it's important. I think it's very clear what are some of the major challenges that live in the healthcare education and delivery space. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a mystery to anyone right now. Mm-hmm. How do we educate people to be as best prepared? How do we do it in a way so that the time when they complete their education until they can actually treat gets shortened? How do we produce better patient outcomes? How do we have better patient safety? All of those are the problems we all recognize. But the truth is, you can walk through this exhibit hall and see some amazing technology, but not one place has all the answers. And that's my thought in all of this and why we're so committed to it. There's not going to be a group that solves it. It's going to be a large group of different organizations coming together. They're going to solve these really big problems. And why it's so important is none of us get to avoid those problems. Mm-hmm. And that's, to me, where the purpose comes from, is that regardless of where you're from, what your income is, where you live now, what background you come from, in the end, we all face the same outcome. So for me, that's why this event's so important, because it's like a playground for me. I don't know about you guys. I just love to walk around. I can spend hours talking to people. And it's influencing a lot of the thought that I brought here of where we're going as an organization. These are the type of events that help move it forward.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, I can walk by somebody's booth and I'll do a flyby and then I'll process and then I'll do another one. And, you know, I've been to your booth 2 or 3 times already. And I keep seeing new stuff and new, you know, process and that sort of thing. And it's great. Yeah, this is, and everybody. And like you said, it's the collaboration. It is the togetherness of making it all happen with different ideas, different mindsets coming together for the unique problems.
Yep. We met with Ryan Ribera from SimGeeks yesterday, who's the chair for the corporate roundtable, and very similar thought process, right? Nobody in this building can fix all of your problems. You have to have multiple vendors. You had to have that, and so letting you guys work together, see what else is going on in the market. It's not always about competition. A lot of times, it really is about working together. And
I think you see that in other industries, right, where that collaboration is what's driven to really big accomplishment, and everyone can be successful. It's not a zero-sum game. And one of the main points of what we're doing here is not just to say it, we're showing people how it gets done. Like all the people we've brought into the booth with us, it's not just EMS. Yes, we're the backbone of it all that's brought it all together. We're the platform that's on it. But we've integrated 5, 6 different companies just for this demos that we're running here for IMSH, and that was done with intention.
Well, and let's talk about that. So normally we don't get too much into product on our show, right? We don't dig around with it, but you guys have some just ridiculous stuff at your booth. So tell us a little bit about what is it you guys are showing off here this week?
So I would say what we've done is it's a transition to doing what we do well. Simulation software, competency management, video capture, recording, bookmarking, and now we're showing where we're going with it. So, collection of data, and not just data that comes out of our systems, but we've got the group came over from London, nice friends of ours from Tesla Suit to join us here. We wanted to show an integration of a full body haptic suit into what can happen when it's in a simulated environment. We've got our friends from VCOM, one of our partners, and they've got their vest that they're demoing here. We integrated it into our system. We got Sonosim integrated into our system. We're trying to show how, and the word's not easy because it's not, but what's possible when you take some of the great things that are out there, and then our partners at MicroHealth with the scenario builds that they're so well known for, who've helped with this, showing when you put 5, 6 different people together, we're trying to create a 360-degree learning immersive experience, and here's the important part that gets missed. We spend a lot of time talking about, we want to make sure that the administrators knows what's going on with who's participating in an event. We want the educator to know what's going on participating in an event. But what we have to spend more time on, and I think this is where it goes to the next level, is how do we give the learner themselves more insight into where they are, where they can improve, what their opportunities are, and give them the tools along the way, because so much of learning, right, is if you don't know what you're not being successful at, it's really hard to get better at it.
Yep. And you don't know what you don't know.
So that's really what we're out to show. It's not about one capability, it's about what's possible when we put some of the best things that are out there on the market all together in one place on our system.
Nice. Very cool. So, like you said, you've been there for 9 months. You're kind of in your assessment phase and things like that. What are your goals for the next 6 months, year?
Wow.
Yeah.
Goals for the next 6 months or year. I think as an organization, we want to continue to expand what we're doing in the partnership realm. That continues to be a driver for us, and you hear it from other people here too. We have some very exciting things coming in the next 6 months that are going to hopefully, we believe we've taken a step here with haptics and moving that along. We think we've got something else coming in the next 90 to 120 days that will be another big step forward when it comes to tracking lifelong learning and being able to document it and keep it all in one place and give it to whoever you want to give it to at a click of a button. So those are some of the next things we're thinking of. So much of it has been data collection and data management.
Yep.
So now that we've got it all in one place from all these different systems, how do we make it actionable so someone can take it with them, share it with who needs to see it, share it with people who may be going down the same path. And we want to add that capability. And you see it in other areas, right?
Yeah.
We've all got a smartphone in our pocket right now. Half my life's on here.
Oh, my whole life.
Right. So all it takes is one. I was worried about falling up the stage yesterday, and not so much for the embarrassment of kicking off the plenary, but breaking my smartphone. That would have been a much bigger problem. So
Right.
I could have get over the embarrassment of the fall.
So I actually broke my iPhone on the way down here, and so luckily I carry a work phone, so I have 2 of them. But it's ridiculous how stressful it is not being able to access all of my information. I never realized how attached I was to my phone until the last 3 days.
It's going to be something I'm discussing later today in a session of just how people always talk about the generational divides to it, but I don't know if I buy into that anymore. I don't buy into it. I think the dependency is the same for everyone. It's just the comfort's different.
Yep.
So.
And that's a good point. Is I've had lots of conversations just this week, and I'm training somebody on a piece of equipment, and they're like, I'm just don't get these things. I'm like, no, you've never been familiarized with it. The first time I picked this up, I was an idiot about it. So let's just familiarize yourself with the concepts, just like we do with Sim.
Look, if you're good at it the very first time you touch it, it's probably not that advanced and it's not going to help you too much.
Yeah. Or you've probably had another experience that was close enough that guided you, because you weren't an expert at that either.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, Matt, I mean, this has been great, man. I know you're a busy man. You got a lot of stuff going on this week. You have any parting thoughts or any things you want to share with the listeners?
I would just say that I appreciate what you guys do, because it's so important in this community that I think exposure is just critical. And in my view, simulation for so long was thought of as its own kind of thing on an island, and we need to move it to where it belongs, which is foundationally a part of education, training. We've got some partners that are doing some really interesting things in patient care and at-home care using simulation that we'll have more to talk about in the coming months too, where maybe it's not just about training providers. Maybe it's about training people who have to take care of people once they're discharged. And that's the next frontier where we're going to go, because the technology's there. All we need to do now is summons the will to do it together, and I think everything moves pretty quick.
That's cool. You've definitely whet our palate on a few things, so we cannot wait to see what you've got for the next, year and years to come.
I don't know if I can get a 3-story booth in here next year, but we'll see what happens.
You made that. I was actually going to comment on that earlier. I attend a lot of conferences. I think I did 7 or 9 or something ridiculous last year. I have never seen a 2-story booth in a convention hall, and certainly not at IMSH until this year. And I saw that. You got people up on the balcony looking down on your simulations.
Yeah, I think it's, you guys go to enough of these, right? These floors can get incredibly loud, but you don't always want to leave the floor to go to a meeting. Okay, great. Let's put some couches and relax, and we can go upstairs and talk, and guess what? As soon as the conversation's over, you're still in it. So, candidly, this came from me in a meeting I was at ITSEC back in November, where I had this meeting, and I was at a booth talking with someone, really liked what was going on. It's like, okay, well, we've got our meeting, and it's about a 5-minute walk. And I was like, wait a second, I don't want to make a 5-minute. Let's meet here. But there's a lot going on the floor. So, I think that, look, we want to make it as accessible, and we left it really wide open for everyone to see, because everything that we're trying to do now is just to convey. It's easy to say, let's all do it together. Let's just make sure everything we do is backing that up.
So short term, but you're already making positive influences and moving things forward. So good.
It's the only way I know how to do it. We might as well go. So.
All right, Matt. Well, thank you again for your time. Hopefully we'll see you around over the next few days. And, don't be a stranger to us, too, if you need something in the future.
All right. I appreciate it, fellas. Thanks so much.
Thank you for your time. We're live on the show floor at IMSH in Orlando, Florida for 2023 of IMSH. So, again, thank you for your time, and we appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.